Okay, so now redirecting to YouTube. Okay, now I gotta figure out how to invite Serica.
Start a meeting. You want me to-
I have the meeting. I have to start the meeting to do this.
You have to start a Zoom meeting now.
I did. That's what I started. Where the heck is that invite others? There's no invite others.
Let me see.
Oh, wait. Participants. Invite.
There you go.
Okay. Copy invite link. Right now, let me go to Serica.
Hey. No.
Okay. So. None. Close participants. Okay. So I think we're live. I have no idea how to test this. We had
It's early though.
a little, it's 1:20. It's 11:29. Yes, we have one more minute. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you for what? You're the one that sweated that one out. And you sweat a lot.
We have been sweating out the last 2 years, have we not?
We have. I'm putting up cheese.
Cheese is the best.
Cheese, my friend.
You know, cheese never disappoints.
My hips.
Cheese never disappoints.
Well, you know what? I had fish dip, which, you know, Erica's not here for, so I'm not gonna pull out.
Well, and even if she were here, she's fasting.
That's right.
Okay. I think people can hear us. I have no idea how to test any of this, and I'm undone by what was required. I think what I read is that people can comment, but the comments will show up on YouTube. So because I'm fearless, I'm just gonna jump around and click buttons. Uh-oh. Waiting for Dawn Richards. Well, Dawn's here. Oh, boy. I don't know why it says that. Maybe YouTube can't tell. I'm gonna do more. Maybe it doesn't know I'm there. I'm gonna try something else. Okay, so we're live now.
Okay.
Oh, but it has been renamed to Abby Raymond Dow's Zoom meeting.
Oh, I think you can rename it in the settings there.
I can.
Because we're using my account. Is there on?
Not that I can tell. Hold on, I want to say something else. Yeah, it's not what I wanted to do. Well, if anybody's watching, you can laugh along with us as we try desperately to figure out what's happening. And I apologize. We will explain in a minute. Okay. I am live. I think. Oh, but this is a different video link. Okay, I don't want that one. I want this one. Let's see. I'll go back in a second and see if Sarah's there. How pretty.
Well, I should have done that.
Oh, please. I should have done a lot of things earlier today, and I was beating myself up over the fact that if I'd left home on time, I would have been able to do everything that I'm instead going to need to do tonight. There we
Is
are.
there anything out there that you want me to set up in that thing?
No, I'm good, thank you.
In that bag? What's in that bag?
Oh, what's in the bag? Oh my God, what's in the bag? Well, let me show everybody what's in the
I
bag.
got it.
There's fruit, Caribbean fruit in the bag, and an apple pie because they were on sale at Publix. And it's a Dutch apple pie.
Which is Scott's favorite.
Is it really? So
And then I'm gonna
pretty.
sit it on this.
All right. Oh, wait. Oh, you're gonna present it nicely. I'm just gonna show everybody the apple pie. Let me see if I see Sarika in here. Yay. Participants. No.
Go back here.
Zen.
Alexa brings a meditation.
Okay, I don't see her waiting to be let in, but I did invite her in. Thanks for the tip, Zoom. I don't need it, but it's possible that Google doesn't see that we're live, but it's all going through Zoom. But I don't know.
You have a drink, or would you like?
I have coffee, thank you.
Because everything I have jammed into this. Little pipe there.
All right, I pressed my daughters into service to test this new link. Ay, ay, ay. All right, it looks like at least two people, my adult daughters, can see us and hear us, which is good.
Hello.
Thank you, girls. Abby says hello. So we had a little,
Technical.
some technical difficulties,
Challenge.
challenge, and third-hand COVID exposure. So in an abundance of caution, Sarika is not here live, and we are desperately trying to bring her into this Zoom. Oh my God, thank you, Charlotte. I can't see any messages, and I'm looking to figure out where I can see them. This is wild. Yes, thank you, Charlotte. I see that, and I wish that I could actually see the videos, and I can't figure out how to see the messages, but that may just totally escape me for today. So if you're sending us messages, I greatly apologize.
Well, you only see two people on, so.
No. Charlotte sees messages to us.
Oh, hello.
Hi, everyone. We can't seem to see the messages, or I'm just undone by tech. I have one more idea here. Yeah, Charlotte, I can't see live chat because I'm actually Zooming this meeting via YouTube. If you heard that, good Lord.
Let me see if I can see it on my phone.
Oh, wait, I might be able to mute. We can't seem to see. Oh, my goodness. The messages, or I'm just undone by tech. Delay. There we go. And where's, now I can see it. Okay. See, all right, so I opened YouTube and muted it so I could see the chat,
Okay.
right? Because I will not be beaten by tech. Anyway, here's Abby and me. We'll jump back and forth, see if we see comments, because I have to see the comments in YouTube, but we have to broadcast on Zoom because Sarika cannot be with us because there was a COVID exposure and she just got over it.
But you know, when you have to figure things out, that's
You
what
just
we
do. That is what we do.
So this is just a little slice of life.
It's
Oh.
exactly what, you know, we go through every day, which is why everybody's so angry. Okay, I am sending up flares to Sarika because we set this up through Zoom so that Sarika could be with us, but I'm not seeing her yet. Anyway, what we were going, well, first of all, let me show you the food, because the food is the most important part of what we do. Whoa, I'm sorry, Abby. As we said, in our intro piece, what do the three of us have in common? Well, it starts with food, because everything starts with food. And it ends up being way more than you think. So here's our food that I'm sure everybody's dying to see, with my fantastic camera skills. There's the cheese board because Abby is all about the presentation. And there's the lovely Dutch apple pie and the Caribbean fruit that I picked up at Publix and just basically flung at her in a Publix bag and its packaging. But Abby is not to be deterred from doing everything beautifully. So anyway, we don't have Sarika yet, but we're going to keep going until we get her. Well, while we wait for her, let me put it that way. I've lost my English too. Okay, so we had, as I mentioned, but just to be clear, we meet every Wednesday. It always centers around food and good conversation and maybe drinks if we're feeling particularly festive. And what we realized a while ago is that, you know, there are all these dividing lines in society now, but if you sit and talk with people one-on-one, particularly in person, particularly with food, you realize that you have way more in common than you think. And we just think that's an important message to get to the world. Plus, we really like food and we really like good conversation and we really like each other. So that's what we do. And we kind of change the meeting places. We meet at Abby's or we meet at Sarika's. We don't generally meet at my house because I have a terrible dog. So Abby has good dogs, which is why it's, oh, and Sarika has good dogs.
You might hear them slurping in the background.
Yes, but you won't hear them barking and growling like the hound of the Baskervilles, which is
Don't speak too soon.
that's what you'd hear at my house. Anyway, so Sarika and her little one just got over COVID, and there's a potential third-hand exposure among us. And in an abundance of caution, you know, Sarika decided to stay home. And we only got notice of the exposure about 27 minutes, not that I'm counting, before we went live. And so I'm frantically Googling how to YouTube from 2 different places. And Zoom came up, except you need a real Zoom license, which I don't have, but Abby does. So we are in Abby's Zoom and my YouTube, and it seems to be working for the most part. So hopefully we can continue, but I think that's another thing that the three of us have in common is that we kind of don't let anything stop us, you know?
Right. It might pause us.
It might pause us.
But yeah. Yeah.
No kidding. No kidding. We're sending up flares for Sarika.
Yeah, to have her join us. And I just wanted to add a little to what you were saying, because I don't know that we originally started with this being about food. I think that it evolved into that. I think that our conversations were always about having 3 very different people from very different walks of life, very different perspectives, coming together and having conversations. And then eventually it became, you know, wow, we have so much in common. And I guess throughout the discussions, we've also, you know, obviously culturally, you know, most cultures gather around food. So yeah, I think we can start with food and go from there. And it's probably a good way to, connect with anyone, really.
I think so too, right? Who's
Start
gonna argue with food?
Yeah.
And as a Greek, but again, we laugh about the Greek, the Jew, and the Black. Of course, all of our cultures love food. Like, what is there a culture on earth that doesn't love food?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
think So.
If anybody knows and wants to put that in
I mean,
chat,
there are people that
frantically
don't-
Googles.
That don't know, people that don't like
Right.
food, but I don't know culturally if they're, because it seems that even way back when we were, hunters and I
Mhm.
mean, there was always, they made the big kill, and so there was a big feast, and I mean,
Yeah.
I think you just look way back in history, and there's always been a part of connecting as human beings and coming together.
And food is the original sustenance, right? It's
Right,
the
well,
thing you need. We're not going to gather over water. Yes, water is more important, but if I said, hey, let's gather over water, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't get a big crowd.
Well, I guess you'd probably get a better response with food, but some of us just like to gather. Let's get together and
Right.
drink some water. Okay.
Yes, okay, great. Sounds awesome. Sign me up. But I think, you know what? I think something I thought about when you said that, almost second to food and water, okay, to sustenance is community,
Well, yeah.
right? It's
Well,
why
yeah,
we
but the
gather.
community is one of the foundations of community, I
Yes.
think, is food.
Right.
And then
And so food without community is okay. Community without food is okay, but it's kind of like you need both.
But do they even exist without each other? Like, can you
That's a
have
good
a community
question.
that doesn't have food? You
Oh,
can't. I mean, but humans need food. We have to
we're being
eat.
very existential today.
Okay, well, that's me. Welcome to my world. But no, well, there was that lady. Do you remember the one that I think she wanted to look like a Barbie doll? And she said,
Oh, God,
yeah,
yes.
she said she
Yes.
lived off the air.
Yes, she lived off air.
But
Gross.
I wonder if I don't know.
I don't
Maybe she
either.
gave it an 8, but
I don't know if she
I mean,
gave
I
it an
think
8 either.
most of us eat, and I don't want to. I mean, there are people who can't eat.
They can't eat, so what do they
Yeah,
do?
like on a feeding tube or something. I mean, they're getting their sustenance.
So they can't physically
They
eat
can't.
sort of like the rest of us,
Right.
but they eat. Well, they get nutrition.
They get sustenance.
They
yeah.
get sustenance,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's trying to not exclude anybody from our conversation.
No, because we're definitely all about inclusion.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the thing, is including and othering not. The opposite of
Othering not. I love
othering
that.
not. We're trying to bring everyone in and have conversations, because one of my thoughts when we started having this conversation is how can we get people to become more aware that we are more alike than different? Because when we become aware of that, I think it breaks down some of the fear that keeps us separate, some of the fear that makes us, lash out at one another. So that was one of my initial thoughts when we were beginning to do these gatherings.
It is fear of the other, right?
Fear
And
of the
again,
other.
if somebody comes up to you either armed, which obviously is fearful,
Well,
or
that's-
unarmed,
Yeah.
your first thought is again other, and that's an ancient sort of survival mechanism,
Well,
right?
anybody that comes up that you don't know,
Yes.
depending on what your background is, have people been nice to you? Have they been mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
When you walk up, do you get slapped or do you get a hug? You're gonna react based on
Which
on
is
that.
at the core, I think, real or imagined of a lot of the issues we have in society with racism
Well, right,
and sexism
exactly.
and all of that. But I was just gonna say, if somebody comes up to you with a plate of chocolate chip cookies, I think it matters less what your history has been with people who look like that. Because I personally, I'm gonna focus on the cookies.
Well, yeah,
I'm gonna see those cookies before I see you.
Right. Again, I think these conversations are exactly kind of a demonstration that three people who are very different can sit down and end up wanting to break bread together, and that's,
Yes.
and wanting to share ideas. And if ideas are shared from a place where the other people are listening, they don't have to agree. That's what I think I think where we get caught is I don't have to agree with you.
Mhm.
I just have to listen to you. And obviously then it becomes about, well, you can't hurt me. Like I can't agree that you will hurt me,
Mhm.
but, and here's
Here's the
my
dog.
But
Did you want to be a Zoom start today?
he does. He's, I think he's very photogenic, actually.
He's very photogenic.
Yeah. So again, listening without the need to agree with, but simply listening, having that, I think that's what they call holding space, when you just listen. You don't agree, you don't fix, you don't deny, you don't, put a silver lining on it, you just listen.
And I think that's part of the problem we have now is so many people. There's an assumption, and it may or may not be based in fact, and it's way beyond the scope of certainly my expertise. But whether you're talking vaccines, whether you're talking the Texas abortion law, whether you're talking any of these things, people do see this as literally a fear of life and death, an issue of life and death. But I think what's happened is that life or death, fight or flight type of response has now spilled over into everything.
Yes, because it's like there has been a nerve that has been touched that has sent us all into fight or flight.
Yes,
and
all the time.
Also, it's almost like we're always dealing with cognitive dissonance. Everyone, I mean, all of us, myself included. It's very hard for me to have conversation around some topics because I just can't. It's so hard for me to get to a place where I can understand someone's, because it just doesn't make sense to me. And I realize that that's happening usually, and I'll stop myself, but I don't know that, the instinct is not, and it's to fight, and it's to other and get away, and I'm right, and my, what I say is going to be the way that it is. So that nerve, whatever has been touched, which is so, it doesn't matter who's in office right now, that nerve is exposed.
And we're driven to extremes about everything. Like somebody gets, has a major freak out because you painted your walls a certain shade of gray. And then a bunch of other people have a freak out because you care that they painted their walls gray.
Right.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, everybody's is jumping in. So the purpose of our conversation is to try to bring light to the fact that we all can sit down, even when we have very different religious, political, etc., all sorts of views, and say, hey, look, if we can sit together, maybe you can too. Maybe that neighbor that you thought was so different from you has something that you can talk about. I remember my mom one time talking about having to go to a function that we had to go to, and there was this one lady there, and like polar opposite of my mom. And I'm like, she's like, well, what can I possibly talk about with that woman? Like, what can I possibly, say to her? How could we? And I said, well, you both like decorating. And there was that.
Right.
And
how old were you then?
Yes, I was past my imaginary. No, I was an adult, but it's just, we all get caught in, and it's fear. It's like, what am I going to talk to them about is really more about, I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm not going to be liked. I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to be, so if you find something somewhere where you can talk, it starts. And, like my women's group, I have a women's group that I run that which is, I think, actually how we met.
Yes, I think so. The first women's group I've ever joined, because I'm not a fan of groups in general and women's groups in particular.
Right. So it's
because I have biases about them. Right.
Well, but one of the things about the group, and one of the things I think that helps it work, is that we don't allow within the platform, it's a Facebook group. We don't allow people to talk about politics. We don't talk about religion. We don't talk about any of the things that can be inflammatory.
Well, when you're behind a keyboard in particular.
When you're behind a keyboard in particular, but the reason for that, my thought is that if we find that we have other things in common first.
Yes.
And how nice is Dawn and how lovely. And then later I discover that she's on one side of the political, and I'm on the other. We can actually have a conversation.
I love that. It's almost like there should be a rule that you're not allowed to tell anybody, like,
right.
Because
that was the premise, is that we don't talk about those things until we understand that we're humans and we can actually like each other. And if you see within the group, how many groups have formed, and people are very different, like people with money, with no money,
right.
People who, very
and I can tell you, coming to the
religious.
live events, which is a big part of this, because again, you want to be together, you want to gather, you want to see people face to face. I've never felt more comfortable just walking into a room of complete strangers where there was no awkwardness. It was amazing. It is I don't know how you pulled it off, but you did. It's a group of so many women that nobody's catty, nobody's exclusionary. No, like, it's amazing.
This is what I would tell people. You're going to play nicely in the sandbox or get out of the sandbox.
Right.
But it really, and I used to use this example all the time. It's like, we can all be catty.
Right.
Like, think of Abby walking into a spa. Like, my attitude walking into a spa is, it's all peace and love, and it's wonderful. But my attitude walking into a car dealership, you wouldn't even know I'm the same person. It's so you set that ground, and I think that what I would like ideally to see this conversation help make happen is to take that to more people, to a different level, where you're creating a ground where people first talk about just being a human being and not about all the topics that make us so divided. Because we're not, we are one. Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Can everybody see her?
I have no idea. Serica's connecting.
Serica is on.
There you are in the studio.
Hey,
Hey.
how y'all doing? Let me turn the music off because I don't want us to get hit with copyright infringement. Oh,
Yeah,
how y'all doing?
not bad.
Okay, so we figure it out.
We think so. And I'm gonna, I pressed my daughters into service because, it is nice to have adult children.
It is.
I'm gonna see if she can see and hear you. It should be working. It was a combination of, grit and passwords of mine and Abby's and tech and Wi-Fi and whatnot. But I'm feeling, triumphant at the moment.
Okay, well, listen, today is a triumphant day and we are the victors. So
we are.
And now, here we are. We are the Holy Trinity.
There we are.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
And before you got here, we were giving a little bit of a background about what we were trying to do, about finding commonality and people who are seemingly different, and therefore creating a conversation that's not filled with animosity, that's filled with, togetherness, and bringing people in to communicate and to be, nice to one another, and to learn and grow and be in this world and do this life that can be so hard, and do it together, because it's definitely easier when we're together, when we have, community behind us. So that's that.
Yeah, it was so funny when we were in our group text. I thought it was so funny that little, I don't know, I think we're just naturally funny to each other, but without trying.
We amuse ourselves at each other.
Hilarious. I laugh at myself all the time. I don't know about anybody else.
Like, I don't know that. I don't know about anybody else, but to each other, it's like we get it. Like, even when we think we sound crazy in our head when we say it out loud, there's not a sense of being just in agreement all the time, but there's a sense of, okay, yeah, okay, I get you. But that text where I said, y'all dope as fuck, right? And I said that, and I said dope AF, and then in parentheses I put cool, and you came back and you were like, Sarah, I'm not that old that I don't know what dope AF means, and I just thought it was so
I read
funny to
Urban
me.
Dictionary. I'm up on things.
I was just so funny to me because I was like, this is exactly what I think you guys are. So I don't have another word for it. Like, I just think you dope AF. I think y'all
Well,
are.
Back at you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the Holy Trinity.
Right. I can silence my phone. I don't know if I can silence this. Sorry, Sarah.
It's okay. Sorry. I was just like the little doing they did. I'm like squirrel.
I heard a sound. Stop it.
It got me off of my butt. I can't think. So
I'm sorry. I got caught up in the fact that the YouTube thing was up. Like, I clicked it to try to share it on Facebook while I was here, and I didn't hear you guys. So I'm gonna.
No.
But I want.
I sent a link. I don't even know who I sent it to at this point, but hang on a second. I can send you.
I got it. It was on your Facebook. I just pulled it.
You got it from my Facebook. Okay, that's what I was going to say. Yep. Okay, perfect. So we talking about a couple different things. We talked about there was a case, I think a court case that you sent about the marijuana laws, right? And then we talked about Britney Spears and the pornification of Britney Spears. I did put that link, because that was the one I was able to find easily, in the YouTube chat if anybody wanted to look it up. I'm happy to talk about either one. What do you think? I can't remember if we decided.
I thought we wanted to do the Britney Spears. I think it was the Britney.
So, right? Okay. So, all right. So I found this article. It was just a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's on salon.com. Yes. Britney Spears is a cautionary tale of pornification. And it seems to be, well, like every other issue, like what color are your walls, a contentious issue for people, I think women in particular, that, is it owning our bodies and our sexuality, or is it just playing into the hands of men and the patriarchy that are still running things, that have sort of tricked us into believing that, oh no, you should totally, act like this because it's empowering and it allows you to own who you are, when the reality is you're doing it because it's going to make you money. And it's fine to do things that are going to make you money if it's truly your decision. But the article was about, and part of it was because she was so young when she started, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really her decision. It was the decision of the people running things who convinced her that it was actually healthy for her to be doing these things. And, oh, by the way, you're going to make a lot of money. And it could be because of who I am. It could be because of how old I am. I don't know. Although I suspect I would have felt like this if I was 12 years old now. I do see it as the pornification, and I see it as a massive joke that's been played on women that have bought into it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I go with option 2.
Yeah.
It is definitely us playing into that, us women playing into thinking that we've, owned our power, when really that is just playing into them and what they want. And
what I just thought of?
If making us valuable because we're sex objects or not, and that as a sex object we look this way, and
if taking your clothes off was so empowering, then wouldn't we see men doing it left and right if that was what they needed to get power?
I think okay, and I'm gonna kind of disagree with you guys.
Hello.
Gonna kind of. I do understand y'all point, but I also want to put. I think we do see men
Yeah,
think
have
it's
you not
more
been on TikTok?
just see them.
There's quite a few naked men, well, not naked, but you know, that
Yeah,
same sort of.
no, listen, on the cover of Sports Illustrated, David Beckham in Speedos. You know,
All right, fair point.
there's football players who naturally show. There's a image of Dwayne Wade where he is completely naked, but it's to show off his physique. And it is very sexy, but it's not looked at the same way when women do it. But I think men are doing it. It's just we don't look at it like it's an issue. I think it's more acceptable for men to do it than women. And I'm an artist, and I know you are too, Abby. I don't like censoring people with expressing themselves. And if I'm not saying that's what the case is with Brittany, but if that is how someone chooses to express themselves, it's empowering to them, and then to the people who follow them, that's okay too. But I do see why, you know,
I
you got.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I don't think that she meant it wasn't okay. The question was more about, are we actually playing into men's, you know, did men really just get us where they want us as women? Like, because if you look at Brittany, she's supposedly owning her sexuality. She's supposedly owning, the right to, I don't know, wear very little clothing or whatever. But in reality, to me, it's more like that's what they wanted us to do all along. So now they've given us a name, or we've created a name that makes us think that we are in power, when really we're just doing what they want.
We're just playing into the same fantasies that have always been there. That I remember seeing, this was a bazillion years ago. It was like on the cover of Playboy, scientists or teachers or doctors or some educated group like that, bear all. And my first thought was, Jesus Christ, what the message you're sending is, it doesn't matter who she is, how educated she is, she's still going to take her clothes off. And I thought, that's just so demeaning. And I guess I don't see that as empowering. I see it as demeaning, that in the end, no matter what else you are, you're a woman who's going to take off her clothes.
But then we can beg to say, well, if you find it demeaning, then you can choose not to do that. I think the question goes back to what you said at first. Are we, by claiming that, wearing very little clothing, or, being publicly very sexual and sexual, again, portraying that this is what sexuality looks like, and this is what it has to, so that we all run out and buy the products, and we all run out and try to look like this, or we think that our life isn't enough, or that, we're not good enough, or whatever. It's kind of, it's almost like there's a force behind that, which I think is somewhat of what you were alluding to about, did we play exactly into where, like, we're these little mice, did we just walk right where the cat has us, with how, women are claiming that this is power. And I don't know that that's power. That's what we're discussing. I don't know.
Power for you. It's not power for you.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's not power. It's just not power for you. You don't find power in removing your clothing or walking around with little clothing, but there are some women who find that empowering. And I think, I don't think we're all going to agree with how women should or shouldn't be, because we all have different views and upbringings. But I don't want to say that it's demeaning, because then I wouldn't say that it's demeaning, because then that would be me saying that your choice or the way you choose to live your life is demeaning. And I think that's where we cross the boundaries with each other, is that because it's not something I would do, I'm going to classify it as this, it being rude or offensive or demeaning. And I think that's where, we
Well, yeah, it's a hard call to see. There's like a fine line there between being judgmental, which is saying that what somebody else is doing is demeaning, and actually identifying what, I guess, what that source of power really is.
Right, but that's an inner work. That's self-work.
Yeah, but again, if we're talking, and I'm not really clear on this, so I'm just kind of talking it out. But if you look at the media and how the media, makes us think we need to look this way, we need to, wear this, we need to drive that, we need to do, whatever it is that the media is telling us to create something that we need to, oh, excuse my dog. That was bad, Ziggy, get down. Oh my goodness, I don't know how you're not choking over there. That was bad, Zig. Anyway, so whatever's behind that, and there are individual companies, that want us to, buy things, but there's like a bigger force, I think, behind that as well. And I think that's what we're trying to identify. What is that force?
I want to say that the same story is being told, and I get where you're coming from too. The same story is being told about rap music, and how the not just the objectification of women, but also the perpetual cycle of drug and violence in the music of, rap music.
That's an interesting parallel.
Yeah, like, wow, it's the same thing. Like, there are stories. Listen, I've talked to some artists who have said that record labels have told them, if you ain't talking about drugs, sex, and money, and bitches and hoes, then no.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, like,
I mean, I get it, right? They have to make money, and if
they have to make money, and this is what money, sex, drugs, violence, it sells.
Yeah,
it sells, and especially in the music industry, it sells because there's an image of this is who you are, and what it's going to take for young girls and young boys to purchase your music or go buy this product, what you're selling. So I mean, the same thing that is happening to Britney right now. Listen, that's been happening so much. It happens specifically very much so in the Black community with the type of music they put out.
and you know what I find so interesting for myself here, there's an insight, thank you. I don't think I've ever looked at a young Black man who's rapping and being annoyed at him for selling out and doing what the powers that be expect him to do. In the same way that I look at a woman of any color using her sex to sell things. That's really interesting. Huh.
Well,
I gotta sit with that and think about it, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean, can I just say that, like I said, if you talk, there are so many conversations that I fall into, or different interviews that they talk about the implants within the industry, the music industry, and how that the intention to sell sex. So women who naturally have talent aren't necessarily going to get the deal that someone who can't sing, because technology can make you sing today, but because you have the right body, the right lips, the right you're willing to get your body worked on. Like,
Yes.
that's a new thing now. And you're young, you're beautiful, you're going to get the deal quicker than the one who has the talent.
Because in the end, it is the blame, the responsibility, the whatever lies with us. That is what we will pay for.
That's what we pay for. That's what we pay for.
We get what we pay for, don't we?
Yeah. I think for so much of what Brittany is going through, I'm gonna just say right now that if it was me, I'd be in jail. Like, not a conservative. Like I'm just saying, like, I have, honestly, because of what happened to Brittany, it's the first time I heard of a conservatory. It's the first time.
Weird thing, right?
I went and looked up into it, and I'm like, well, how does these grown people have, like, I'm looking in it, but y'all living off this girl money. And there was this, whether it was her choice as a child or not to be involved in the industry as parents, I do think they did what, maybe she wanted to do, and part of it was maybe what they wanted to do.
I want to check and see if we can see the comments, because I can't see them on here. Were you seeing them before? Because
Yeah, you
I would
can-
love to see what people are saying.
You can
about
see
them.
them here.
Okay,
So
so
I
has anybody
keep going
chimed
back
in
and
about
forth.
this?
Nobody has chimed in about this yet. No. No.
See, yeah, somebody wrote about the food. See, somebody couldn't eat. I
Right, that was
figured,
Paul
you
Greet's
see,
mother.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, nobody's chimed in about the Brittany thing yet.
Yeah, but Brittany's case has made it really, like, me to look into it. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. That
You know what's so interesting when you said, like, maybe it's what she wanted to do as a child? That reminded me of something else. So we're very big on the age of consent, right? And the whole statutory rape thing, and you're not old enough, and on that level. And then when we talk about the criminal justice system, can you be tried as an adult when you're a child, blah, blah, blah. But, and I'm right there with you. Somehow it's okay for us to think that an 8-year-old could give consent to being a star.
Yeah, no, that the magnitude an 8-year-old can't comprehend.
Right.
The magnitude they can't comprehend. But I was speaking more for the desire. Like, they want to do this. Like, kids want to go outside and play. That's something they want to do. And then if you notice that your kid has a talent at a very young age, as parents, we're supposed to nurture that to bring out the best in them.
But what's so interesting is, like,
But there's a difference between nurture and exploit.
but how many child stars can we think of that turned out to be functional adults? There's very few.
I guess it depends on how you define functional.
Oh, I define functional as literally functioning in society and not having huge drug addiction problems, not dying a young death, not being married,
recovering. Because, like, Drew Barrymore's had some moments, but she seems to be functioning now.
No, but she went through it,
But and you know what? Again,
I mean, everybody does,
so
but
it's right, and we don't all live it publicly.
right.
Not
That's
everybody
true.
goes through
That's
drugs,
true.
obviously, but I mean, the path to normalcy can be very different for
That is
different
true.
people. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who suffer from drug addiction who aren't celebrities.
That is true.
too.
And I wonder I'd be fascinated, I'm sure somebody has done this, by looking at the data of percentage of child stars who experienced X, Y, or Z issues, right?
Mhm.
Versus the general population. I feel like there's got to be a statistically significant difference.
It's probably the same. I'm gonna put. I think we'll find some parallel in how many childhood football stars go to the NFL.
Oh God, yes. Yes. But every one of them thinks that, I know we battled this all the time when I was teaching in every sport. Every kid thought that was his career. And it was like, dude, you better just buy a lottery ticket, because that's about what your chances are, but they
Way
see
to
it.
crush a dream.
That's me, John, crusher of dreams.
Give it up.
It's
I didn't
it's
play in that sport.
Ah,
That's so funny because it's like the opposite of what happened to me. Like I studied theater.
Right.
I went and I was like, well, I'll never, this is, that's like a pipe dream. You
Uh-huh.
can't, that's not achievable. So, and my mom's like, go.
That's
And
so
I took myself, went back to
interesting.
school. And then all of a sudden I'm at I'm at an audition with someone else.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was like for a model thing. And I'm sitting, I guess you can gather, I talk a lot. So I'm talking to the guy sitting beside me and I guess it was like a theater and she did her thing and she'd walked out and I'm talking to the guy beside me. I'm like, yeah. And I'm, and I studied acting, but it's so I'm in school. He's like, well, why don't you get up and do this? And I'm like, why would I think they might be a little, upset if I disrupt. He's
Right.
like, well, no, probably not, because I'm the director. Anyway,
Wow.
so the guy
That's
ends
crazy.
up writing me and and I had to learn how to shoot all kinds of things up to an Uzi.
Oh, wow.
Like
I didn't
it
know
was
that.
like, yeah.
That's
This was
pretty
my
cool.
first, but I ended up not doing that because I got the lead role in another movie.
Wow.
So anyway, the whole story was not to tell about
No,
my
but that's
fabulous
fascinating.
acting
You
career.
You had your,
But it was like, I didn't expect that, and there it
Wow.
came. But you never know. You never
don't
know.
know.
With sports too.
But
It's a lot of it's luck.
a lot of it's luck.
Yeah.
But there are some people with just that natural, God-given, or whatever you want to call it, talent, right? And that was something else.
But even with God-given talent, sometimes you don't make it.
Oh, absolutely. But that was something that always fascinated me. Like, and I guess it was just a matter of luck, timing,
Mhm.
whatever, exposing kids to whatever at the right time. Like, it always fascinated me. Like, how did you know that your child had this incredible talent for ice skating, or tennis or basketball or whatever? And it is a matter of exposure, right? It's funny. My father, because I was short, right, and small, and you have to be short and small to be a jockey, right? There's no inclusion in being a jockey. Like, you have to be small because of the weight of the horse, and my father wanted me to be a jockey, and I thought my mother was going to kill him at the idea that this is what her daughter would do. And I did toy with it a little bit because I loved horses. He'd been taking me to the track since I was a kid. Back then you couldn't go into the track unless you were 18. So we would go hang out by the paddock and look at all the horses, and I loved them. And I could totally see myself doing that for a living, but that did not happen. But yeah, it's interesting.
I wanted, I can remember as a child seeing a movie, not even a movie. I think it was like, in school, how they try to show you those documentaries to talk about civil rights and different things.
Oh, yeah.
And I can remember watching the documentary where we're talking about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And because of them, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh, interesting.
How they always, spoke truth to power and defended people and different things. Come in.
I could see you doing that.
I could totally see you doing that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's change. I'll change it.
Let's see if I can do this from here.
I'm recording. Oh. Oh. Kids, man, listen.
Oh, yeah.
But
There's a delay.
I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And when I went to college, I didn't like it.
Really?
I didn't like college. While I love to learn, I love to learn the things I'm interested in. A lawyer, and I thought I had to go to college and all of this, and this is this to be a lawyer. And then I realized, like, I don't like school. So nope, the lawyer went out the window. And
That's so
I just
funny.
just then that's where I just said, oh, I don't have to have a degree to defend people, to speak up for people. And that's where my
Really
activism
interesting. And
came.
I loved school. I still love school. But I switched my major, and I can remember thinking like the number of people I saw that had, say, wanted to be a nurse all their lives, right? And then they go all the way through nursing school, which is grueling. They get out, they get their first job, and they freaking hate it. And then they end up like working in a bank or something. And I can remember thinking, like, I need to work in this thing that I think I want to do before I spend all this time and money. Because what if I actually had a doctor in Maryland. He was my OBGYN. I couldn't believe it. Daughter, he put his daughter all the way through med school. She went through residency. She went through internship, like 12 years, right? Whatever it was. And the morning of graduation, she says to him, I don't want to do this. And he said, well, you don't have to go to the graduation. Like, it's not about today, it's about being a doctor. And she's like, no, I don't want to do any of it. And he goes, any of what? And she said, medicine. And he said, and I was like, so at what point over 12 years and like hundreds of thousands of dollars in internship and residency, did this never occur to you along the way? Like you
did, but the pressure,
now,
of course it did. But listen,
yes,
there is a pressure, and I don't know. I mean, I think you guys may be able to speak to this, but I'm telling you, for me, the pressures of living up to what your parents think you should be doing,
yes,
it is very scary to face, because if you fail or you make a mistake or they have to help you do something, you feel obligated. Now I gotta do this.
right. Somehow I managed to raise 3 kids who, look, I'm thrilled that they all at a pretty young age kind of knew what they wanted to do. They also completely went their own way. And I used to do this thing with them every night, like at bedtime, and what can you be when you grow up? And they would answer anything I want to be. And why? Because I'm Charlotte Elaine Richards. I'm Erica Faye Richards. I'm George Edward Rivero. You know what? That was our thing every night. And they really took that to heart. But I want to go back to the doctor for just a second, close the loop. So he looked at her and he's like, so do you have any idea what you might want to do? And she goes, I'm hoping you'll put me through law school. And he said, oh, hell no.
Put yourself through
He said,
law school
right,
as a doctor.
Right, exactly. He said, you are more than welcome to be a lawyer. I am not paying for it. Oh my goodness. I don't know whatever happened to her, but I got to tell you, that takes some guts, right? Right in that moment to saying, can you put me through law school?
It's been building up for a very long time that she didn't want to be a doctor, like
Right.
Sarah was saying it. But
Right.
I mean,
Oh my God.
wow.
That's some nerve right
Yeah,
there, right? Can you
yeah.
put me through law school? No.
Well, listen, I think I think first the fact that she had the nerve to ask to put through law school is
To be a good lawyer.
yeah. Yeah, you got the nerve to ask after you done went through that. Yeah.
So did your parents want you to be a particular career? Did they want you to have a particular career?
No, my mom was a single parent. So of 5. So my mom just wanted us to be good. Like I gotta think, I have to think that my mom gave up a lot on her dreams for us, because she was a mother. She gave a lot up on her dreams, and because she gave up on her dreams is why I can't give up on my dreams, because I saw what it did to her as a woman, not just being my mother, but as a woman, what it took her through to sacrifice her dreams to raise her kids.
Really interesting.
And I'm so grateful for it. I'm really like, I can feel my heart tensing up right now, but it's why I can't give up on my dreams, why I keep doing what I'm doing. And I say this, I've been saying this for the past, it's September, 8 days now, that I am living my dreams. I am very grateful that I'm living my dreams because my mom couldn't.
Mm.
My mom couldn't because she had kids. I'm doing it because I have kids. And I think, I know because my mom didn't have that, well, you go do this, go be this, go be this. My mom just wanted us to be okay. Like she just wanted us to be okay. And she did a good job. She did it. I could live with five. Listen, I made it a whole 20 years with just two, and waited till one turned 20 to get another one. So
Right. God bless you, because oh my goodness.
listen, I am so grateful for my mom. But also I do know a lot of the obstacles that were put in my mom's way is made it hard for her to think about pursuing her dreams.
Right.
Um,
Well, not only that, just the time involved with 5 kids.
Well, yeah.
Even if every path was open to you, it's very hard to take those steps because there just isn't time.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and then there's not time to sit and dream about much if you're like trying to survive.
Yeah, like survival was that
You're a single mom of 5 kids. You're trying to make sure everybody gets fed. You're trying to make sure everybody's got something to wear and cover their body. And there's not a lot of time for you to sit and think, is there more to this life, or is there more that I could do? And obviously we all think those things, but what I mean is she didn't have enough time to even dream about how to put them in action. Probably. I'm just saying, is that kind of right, Serica, that she just was so consumed with making sure her kids were fed and taken care of and safe and whatever, that she just didn't have time to even formulate any real. I'm sure she dreamt about some things, but I just don't think she had the idea that she could ever make it happen with so much going on in her world.
Yeah. Do you know what she wanted, what her dreams were?
I do. I know that my mom was in college. She was going to college, and I know that she was going to college because one day she couldn't find a babysitter for me, and she took me with her to class. And I can remember where I popped some popcorn as a snack to go. And here I am in the middle of the English class, and as the professor is talking, I'm rambling through the popcorn bag. So everybody here, and they all looking at me, but nobody's saying anything because, the woman had to bring her child to class. And I didn't know, but I can remember that, and in that class is where I learned the difference from there, and there. Okay. I
I've not gotten that down yet.
So many people were not in that class, Erica.
Yeah, I learned in that.
But I would just say it's better to know the difference between good and bad than there, and there.
Now I'm going to judge, because I'm pretty sure that many of the people who don't know the difference also don't know the difference between good and bad. I'm judging.
I disagree with that one. I think that
I think you're right.
Not about education. That is just about common, human kindness, decency.
No.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that, but I know it's not true, sadly.
What? That it has to do with education?
No, that it has to do with your moral character. Yeah. No, unfortunately, that cuts across all lines. And Serica had to jump out for a second. So did your mom, she encouraged your theatrical career, but in general, was that what she wanted you to do, or?
I think it's what she wanted to do.
Well, there we go. Mothers and the dreams.
Yeah,
and
I think she wanted that. And of course, I think she wanted it for me too. But I think she did project some onto me. I mean, she always did say I was quite dramatic, and I don't know, I can be dramatic for sure. But I don't know that I'm more, I mean, I'm not.
I didn't
like
say you
a
was particularly dramatic,
queen.
no.
But my mom called me Sarah Bernhardt when I was 2. So, yeah, there was always, some sort of, I don't know, but my mom was very, she had a flair for the dramatic. She wasn't a drama queen, I don't think, but she was a Leo, if you believe in those things. And she was a big,
I'm a Leo.
yeah, well, there you go, very.
What day was her
you know,
birthday?
July 31st. And she was very a presence,
Mhm.
very much a presence, like the lion, like you. Yeah, but
No.
I was the, I've always been the weird, like, I want to be acknowledged, but I don't like to be public. Like, I don't want to be stood up and for everybody to go, here's Abby and all I just quiet acknowledgement. I think that's all.
I know you
that
don't like it, the
really-
waves things getting up.
Oh my gosh, I do not. And if
I know.
somebody I like to duck.
I know.
But it's not that I don't want people to know. I do. I mean,
Right.
my little ego wants some, love too. But it really wanted to be more about what it's about and not about me and my ego.
Right. Right, you want it to be about the thing,
Yeah.
not Abby.
Yeah, exactly. And so even when I was on television and I did interviews, I could do pretty much anything in front of the camera. Oh, I'm terrified, for example. I'm terrified of, like streams and the jungle and there could be a snake or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I'll go. But I mean, for me to be doing like running across the water and in the Amazons,
Mhm.
and, you put the camera, you say action, and I'm running through the water
That's
barefoot.
so interesting.
Yeah, absolutely no fear. No.
That's so
Because
interesting.
I guess it just has to do with if I can see a way to be happy and find fulfillment in a way that doesn't potentially cause me bodily harm, I would prefer to do that. But a lot of people don't. Like, I don't
I'm
see
fascinated that the fear goes away.
It goes away completely
when the camera's on.
But
Wow.
so I'll do anything that I need to do, the script or director, like I'll do anything. But if you would put me on an interview and I had to be Abby on the camera, I didn't feel like that at all.
That is
I did not like that.
fascinating.
I did not like that.
I'm surprised that like a fear of snakes is, I can't think of the word, but that somehow the act of knowing that it's a job
Mhm.
removes that fear. That fascinates me.
Well, no, there's a greater purpose. If the purpose is just, let me see if I can do it, to see if I can challenge Mother Nature to make sure, let's see if I can get across and nothing will happen to me just for the thrill of it, is not enough motivation for me. Motivation is, I am creating art and let's do it. I'm in. And it's funny because I am a fearful person, and I know that, like, I was fearful when my daughter was little. So I totally get you not wanting to be here, because even without COVID, when my daughter was little, I was, do you have a cold? Don't come, my daughter, I was afraid. And so I am generally fearful. And it's funny, I had this conversation because like, I don't want to go on a bike. I like on A1A. Oh my God, no. But if it's like a safe place, yeah, I'll go on a bike. But like A1A, there's too many people texting. Yeah. On a bicycle or a motorcycle. I mean, like, I won't do it. But I have discovered that even though I'm fearful, like I was going down to the Keys last week, and all of a sudden we had a boat on a trailer, and all of a sudden the tire blows out on the freaking turnpike.
Yeah.
On the turnpike, and there's no room. So literally you couldn't get out of the driver's side. You had to climb over. And thank God the tire was on that side. Because if it had been on the other side, I guess you just call the police. I don't know. I don't even know what you do.
It's very scary.
But so in that moment, when there's actual real danger, I'm like, what do I do? I'm out, I'm coming, you know, and then I'm fine because
That's
there's a
interesting.
reason for it.
Mm.
But to me, sometimes it seems senseless. Like, why? Skiing is beautiful, but running into a tree or breaking your arm or your leg, and I see so many people with injuries, I'm like, you know, there's another way for me to enjoy this that doesn't include the potential of me really hurting
So
myself.
I learned a very long time ago that feeling that everybody else goes onto a roller coaster to feel. I hate that feeling. And
That's probably similar.
And my answer to people is I can live a complete life without ever getting on another roller coaster.
Right.
But why would I don't like that feeling. And I recognize that it's that feeling that other people pay to experience.
Yeah, I don't need that.
I don't enjoy that.
I'm gonna bring up something. Abby brought up the word fear, and I was having a conversation earlier about that. And my fear is had been in a different place, but I also realized too how fear cripples us.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
For doing the things that we're capable of doing, or that we want to do, or that we're destined to be, however you look at it. And
that's the distinction, Sarika. That's the distinction, because fear can stop you. But if there's something greater, like for me, the art was a greater, that
Right.
was enough motivation for me to overcome it. But for me to do it just for the, the giggles, oh no.
no, because I say I'm not gonna go jump out of an airplane. I'm not gonna jump out of an airplane. I like people who go skydiving. For me, that's cool. I understand. Like, that's what you want to do. That's on your bucket list. No, that's not on any list of mine. Like, I don't bucket list any list, black list, no list. I don't want
That will be on no list ever. But I guess that's what interests me. So let's, I don't know, I'm gonna make up whatever job. Acting, whatever. And I am gonna refuse to skydive, right? Because again, yeah, that's not on any of my lists either. I am not jumping out of a plane. I can understand, but not for me. So if I were an actor and I were offered a role and they said, well, you're gonna have to jump out of a plane, it's hard for me to imagine that I would be okay jumping out of that plane because there was a greater motivation. I don't know. And maybe I would. Again, we never know, which is another thing I think we do a lot.
The acting is.
Yeah, I guess.
but you never know with anything. I think,
Yeah.
for me, I'm having this.
Like an Uzi.
Right.
Me?
Right.
No.
But what this reminds me of too is, you're right. I do not know until I'm in this. I won't know till I'm in the situation.
Right.
But that's another thing I see us doing all the time now in society, right? We assume that we know exactly how that person felt. And we're very quick to say, well, if I were there, I would have. When in reality, no, you don't know. You do not know at all.
And I've interrupted you again, Sarika. I'm sorry. What were
You
you?
did.
Please finish your thought.
Sorry.
You really did.
I'm
You
sure
really
you
did.
remember it now, right?
You really did. I'm gonna task you with some of that goat cheese from Trader Joe's for your interaction upon this conversation.
I had food today for you that I didn't even. I have salmon and fish dip that she doesn't even eat, and then of course you were fasting. So,
but you'll have to get goat cheese to atone.
Now I'll have to go to Trader Joe's, or you'll have to come with me. I think you said you hadn't been, so we need to go.
No, I haven't been.
I'll go with you.
Oh, maybe I'll go too. We could do a field trip.
We could do a field trip.
It is a happy
The
place.
Holy Trinity.
It
is. But you kind of have to know. You have to go with people who know, because if not, you go, wait a second, what is there? You don't quite know what to look for.
I know one thing, and it's their $5 peach Bellini mangosini, the stuff we have. That is what I know.
Yeah.
I mean, Dawn, that's not even something I would go in a store for. I wouldn't go into Walmart for that. So I know
typically that is the only thing I go to Trader Joe's for. But I think Abby knows it better, so we could do a field trip.
There's lots of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff at Trader Joe's. I mean, I love Trader Joe's. I love Whole Foods too. I haven't gotten into Aldi. Some people, maybe it's one of those things you kind of have to
I like
know it.
Aldi. I like
don't.
Aldi.
I don't love it. But anyway, I think going back to what we were saying is it depends on how important something is to you, where something else will fall out of the way. So for example, if your
Maybe.
child were in danger, you wouldn't care, you would jump out of the plane if that would be, and you wouldn't think about it.
I would like to believe that,
I think you would.
but I
So
think
I will say, I will say this, and what I was going to say earlier was, you know, how we deal with fear, I think is an indication of what it is. You know, for those of us who, for instance, me being an entrepreneur or social entrepreneur, it is very scary for me to take that on full time, because I've always done it where I've had a job and I did it on the side. So I was like, but I got, when I realized I got to the point where I actually lose money being at the job compared to when I'm just full time doing my entrepreneurship. But that is a scary leap to take, to say,
yeah.
I'm just going to bet on me and jump out this airplane. This is my airplane I'm jumping out of. And you hope the parachute opens, because
That's a great analogy.
you on the way down is on the way down.
Right, literally, yeah.
It is on the way down. And the same thing with roller coasters. You're going up and down. No matter what, that down feeling does not feel good to human beings. Like,
I can't imagine that it does. Like, who likes that?
Some people do.
Some people do. That's why they go on. And I'm like,
I think
"Whoa,
it adrenaline for some, but I don't know. Like, for me, it's definitely, I can understand it, because I guess I got to change that. I do understand it, because here I am jumping out of the entrepreneur plane.
Yeah.
And willingly, you know, nobody's making me do this.
I
you
nobody
know,
pushed you out of
But
it.
your dream is more important than not living it, you know. Not
yes.
living a fulfilled life. I mean, like, what does it take for you to live a life that is fulfilling to you? And could you play it safe and just live a stable, you know, or a safe life, as opposed to really going for it and putting yourself out there and having those adrenaline kicks and the fear that goes along with uncertainty and putting yourself at risk, financially or whatever the case may be. So it really all has to do with,
I want to go back though.
what's it
but I wanna-
worth to you?
I want to go back to what you were saying about, like, if it was your child, you know for a fact you would jump out of the plane,
I
right?
don't know for a fact, but I
Okay.
would think you would.
I would think, right. And I think that's an important distinction, because I think what we were talking about at the beginning about how people are like, I know what I would do, or you shouldn't be doing that, or judging, or whatever. I think part of the issue we have is we are highly overconfident in our belief that we know exactly how we would respond in any given situation. And so we're very quick to judge people who respond differently.
Well, we're quick to judge anyway.
We are.
Anyways,
Judging is one of our issues. Instead
Yes.
of like, remember, I don't know if you had joined yet, but when we were talking earlier about just listening, you don't have to agree, you don't have to do anything
Right.
else, just listen. And we've lost that ability. I don't know if it was ever really part of being a human, but just to listen, not to fix, not to do anything, but to listen.
I think that
And not get triggered and not
As-
judge.
as
not,
much as
you
the
know.
internet and social media have brought us so many good things, I think this is a dark side that I'm not sure anybody could have anticipated. And I think that, you know, behavior.
they have the Terminator. Come on now. The Terminator told us.
The
you know,
Terminator did.
Come
And
on
we,
now.
and we didn't listen. And
We
look where we are.
We didn't. We
Right.
didn't.
Did we listen? And I think that a lot of these skills are emotions, are muscles, like actual muscles, right? And I'm just thinking out loud here. we have not been exercising our tolerance muscles and our holding space muscles and our listening muscles. And so they are atrophying, right? Literally wasting away because we don't use them.
Mhm.
It's that's why you know, it's so important for social interactions. That's why I do live events.
Right.
And it was really hard for me to get into the virtual shows during the beginning of the pandemic, because I couldn't figure out how I was going to make people enjoy the show or feel what they feel when they come to my show. It's a feeling, an experience, listening, and identifying, hey, someone feels the same way I feel, or
And it's nice to have Zoom, not gonna knock what's allowing us to do this, right? It is nice, but it is definitely
not a way of life.
no, no,
It's not a way of life.
no.
Like it definitely, I appreciate and I'm grateful for having the access and the ability to do this.
Right.
But it's in circumstances like this where there's health that's concerning. So those are the times that we need it. Those are the times that it's good. But all the time, for us to have a good time, and I mean, I understand, you know, with the whole pandemic, we were having this do the social distancing, and while we had to do it, it was good and bad, because after a while, people stopped believing that there were people on the other side of the screen.
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's that, because like you said, this the keyboard warriors, but
Right.
also like the people that are like there to battle. But it's also, as an artist, you know what I'm talking about. You get so charged by the energy in the room. And if you don't get that from Zoom. I'm sorry. And
Yeah,
even
no,
when
you
saw
don't.
all the, you know, all these musicians that were doing jams and they were putting up, it just doesn't get that electric feeling.
No,
you
I
get
don't
when you're
get
at a
it.
concert. You can't get
Artificial. It's artificial. It's not
It
that
is.
it's not. It's just
non-existent. It doesn't, that charge is not there. That vibe that you get from other human beings. We need each other. We need each other.
More than
we need to connect. We need, as much as we annoy each other, as much as we get on each other's nerves, as much as everything, we need each other. And I think that if we can remember that, and that we can remember that, again, we are more alike than different when it comes right down to it, I think we'll bring the world to a happier place. I do.
It's so funny
because
it's so funny you said that, because I think we have to be, I think we have to start looking at each other and other people as resources, because when we look at, I'm saying that because if you're a resource, and it just may be in the area that you are good at, if it's in an area I'm not good at, that could help me. But if we're not having conversations with each other and building relationships, we won't ever know the areas that we have that we can help each other. For instance, I have my financial advisor who's been helping me understand some things about finances, and she's a whiz at it, and I'm like learning. But we've developed a relationship to where we do talk about some personal things. And you know, I just with talking with her, I realized that she invalidates her feelings because of other people.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I said to her, and I said, I was okay, you've been teaching me about finances. I'm an artist, and part of being an artist is we have been burdened with the ability to express the human experience. And 9 times out of 10, that means we have to go through the most excruciating things to be able to express those things. And hearing her I said to her, it's like, listen, I really think you need to deal with how you feel. For someone who is mathematically inclined and uses that side of the brain, the thought of dealing with my feelings never crossed their mind. The fact that their feelings are a thing, it is real, because it's they can't compute it. And it was so important for me. And I was so grateful that we had built that relationship where I'm now able to talk with her about her feelings, and I'm giving her
And bring something of value to her.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Giving her, because while I did, our interaction initially was for business, getting to know someone, you'll know, like even with going in business, you pick up on energy and vibes, and there's something about a certain person that makes you want to know more. We got to know more, and that was an area that I could help her with. That feels good too, because I don't always want to be the one that needs. I want to be able to lend too. Like if I can help you, I want to help you too. I don't want to always need someone. I want to be able to help those in need as well. And I think that is a way that we could look at each other, is that, like, listen, like, you're a resource. So if someone's a resource or someone that has value to bring, might want to try to be kind and get to know these people, because we're all connected. We're all connected. We all feel the same feelings, just differently. We have to figure out how to express that, how to talk to each other and how to communicate. We may not always understand each other, but we will never know until we try to just have these types of conversations.
Yeah. And I think it brings up an important thing to me. It reminded me of something, which is that I think sometimes that the things that I talk about or that we talk about, that they're kind of talked about a lot, but you would be surprised. Like you said, you ran into your financial advisor and she apparently didn't have these tools or this information that we have. So I think it is important to keep talking about it. It's important to talk about, being more different than alike, the importance of community, the importance of holding space for someone, simply listening, the importance of, doing small, kind things whenever you can. I mean, maybe you can't go out and lead the country or whatnot, but you can make a difference in your community. You can make a difference in your house. You start with small things, all of these things, which, I always kid, or I don't always, but sometimes I kid and I say, I speak in bumper sticker, but you know what? I think it's important that we remember these things that seem so basic sometimes and so essential, because they're not put into practice enough, honestly. So, if you have the push to talk about those things and to share them, I think you should. I mean, I think I should. And, that just validates what I'm thinking, that you're talking to someone who's so savvy about, finances, but on the other hand, wasn't able to, express herself without, being self-deprecating, or I don't remember what you said, that she
doesn't validate her feelings.
Without invalidating her feelings. Yeah, so it's important. I mean, we are lights for each other. We are here for each other. We're all different and yet alike. And if we can find ways to complement each other, help me with my numbers, I'll help you with, your boundaries. That sort of thing. And accepting who we are for who we are is, because when we don't do that, it's hard to accept others and it's hard to be happy. And I think that's part of our experience too.
Yeah. I mean, it's ultimately I think from our first conversations, we all want the same thing. We just trying to get it differently. We all want to be loved. We all want to feel safe.
We We want our children to be safe. We want our children to be loved. We want we want to be happy. We want to see our children thrive. We want the opportunity to provide those things for ourselves and for our children. I think that sometimes we get lost and we don't understand that it is possible to do that without having to hurt others on the way. We are able to make progress.
It is definitely possible. I think once we acquire the tools necessary, once we acquire the tools necessary, I think we can, but I don't think everybody has the tools. And that's why, in being in the situation, like I said, with my financial advisor, where someone who hasn't dealt with their feelings or know how to, I'm going to tell you my way of dealing with it. And maybe it helps me to find a means in which you're able to deal with how you feel, because how you feel affects everything around you.
Yeah.
So, it's your feelings, your thoughts, how you deal with people around you, your work, everything. So, it's being able to give the tools in places and areas and help those who don't know with whatever in every area of our lives. There's so much we don't know. I think we said that, the older we get, the more I realize I don't know.
Yes.
And
that I think is maturity, right? Like nobody knows everything like a 17-year-old.
Right. 17-year-olds know everything. We need to ask them.
Yeah, we do.
No, but you know what? As you get older, the more you realize that you don't know, and which just brings us back to why it's important not to judge. You don't know.
Right. You
We
do
don't
not
know.
We have no idea. And I think, I'm sure I missed some of this, but part of trying to get back to some place where we can be reasonable human beings is remembering that other people always have something to teach us.
They do, which is what she was talking about people being resources. I like to think of it as people being light, the light, a light for us.
Oh,
And
I like
I like that more resources. That's my entrepreneur Serica there. I'm more of a let's be lights for one another. It's so funny. So we're in the Keys, and there's some people diving for lobster, and I'm like, and
there's a resource.
The first day I'm like, I think they caught 2, and so the next day, and it was like, and I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this. So I didn't go the next day, and then the next day they had 18. They came back with 18, and I was like, well, I told you, because I had been kidding the day before. I said, because I'm like all about peace, love, and release the lobby. Peace, love, and release those lobby. And
then you weren't there to protect them, so it's your fault.
Well, I brought the mojo. It's like, run, lobbies, run. And then the next day I wasn't there, but and I won't eat them, especially if I've seen them, and I realize the hypocrisy in that, but especially if I've seen them alive, I won't eat them.
My father, we used to fish for eel.
Ooh.
And eel are like chicken, and that literally run around with their heads cut off. So my dad brings them home one night, and my mother, slices them up, and the freaking pieces are jumping around in the pan, and she's cooking them, and right, exactly, Sarah. And my mother was like, that is the last time I cook eel. I will not be doing this. Oh, it was vile. Yeah, it was vile. I guess.
eel.
Ew. There were a lot of eel in Jersey, and the pieces jump around in the pan. It's grotesque.
Well, listen, I'm not gonna. I hear it, but I'm not gonna make it like I haven't had my southern delicatessen meals of turtle, and
Poor turtle.
Yeah, well, hey.
Well, if we actually think about what we eat, a lot of times, right, we won't eat it. I heard a story about beef for consumption the other day. Oh, I know. It was a study on disgust and like the origins of disgust and whatnot. And the guy said, we don't sit down and say, oh, I'm going to have some cow because that's just really uncomfortable, right?
Well,
We
it's
say, I'm
too
going to have a
close.
steak. It's too
Right.
close, right? If you think about what it was.
Well, chicken.
I know.
Poor chicken.
I'm gonna eat the chicken.
I know.
Like them chicken wings you had last
Right.
week.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I get, oh, those were so good.
Right.
And I think I was just thinking about that the other day. I'm like, damn, those are good. But I was just thinking about the other day about the fact, so I don't eat red meat. I really don't eat mammals.
Right.
I don't eat mammals.
Right.
A chicken is not a mammal.
Correct.
So maybe because it's further removed from who we are.
Evolutionary,
like a cow
right? A
is
species. It's too close.
yeah,
The
the
species
same
is
thing,
too
and
close.
I'll eat,
Sarah went up
fish.
video. She just went to get you some wings.
Thank you, Serica. Those wings were amazing. So yeah, I guess it's how far removed they are from who we are.
That's interesting. So I have a question for you. So in the story undiscussed, and okay, I have a real fear. I won't say rational because it's probably not rational, but I keep reading all these stories about how eventually we're just going to have to eat bugs to survive. And I'm thinking,
lobster's not
and
that far.
I know. And I'm thinking to myself, that might be when I need to just exit the earth. When they tell me that I have to eat bugs. I just can't. And I'm listening to this story and they're making them try crickets and they're kind of crunchy and they're like chips. And I'm like, oh, I just cannot. Now, right, exactly. Now, from an evolutionary perspective, they're pretty friggin' far, right? They're farther than chickens. But the
yeah,
interest,
but you can't take out the icky stuff.
no, you can't take out the icky stuff.
Right.
But what was so interesting was one of the studies that they referenced was I think it was in Mexico. And it's a culture that eats a lot of very spicy food, right? And I forget what the spice was. It was like a hot pepper, right? And the kids in those cultures, the kids that they studied, they really, they don't like it. They make faces, they won't eat it. Anything that's got the hot sauce on it. And then at around 4 or 5 years of age, they start liking it. And then like forever, they find food tasteless without it. And they were saying like, they don't really know why, if that's an evolutionary thing or a cultural thing or whatever, but it was fascinating. But one of the things they talked about bugs is that if you grow up in a society that regularly eats them,
yeah,
then you don't see anything wrong with it, right?
Absolutely.
I guess.
I get that.
Oh,
I get that.
no.
I can see that. I mean,
I
we're
can
just not
see it.
used to it.
Right.
We're
I
not-
really hope that I am
Right.
long gone from Earth before, if the day ever
I
comes
mean,
that
but
we
if you
have to
think
eat that
about, like,
stuff.
seriously, shrimp are not far from
Yeah.
shrimp and crawfish. and
Right. They look bug-like.
Lobsters.
Yes.
I think lobsters are the roaches of the sea.
I think they always said that. Oh God, no.
And
No.
I mean, and I will, if I'm a little tipsy or if I'm not thinking about it, I will eat a lobster, but when I'm thinking about it, I'm like,
Emma
I-
wants lobster for her birthday tomorrow.
I'm not a big steak person. I'm
Yeah.
not a big steak person. I can do without steak. But everything else I'm pretty good with. We're on good terms.
I
You know,
love
I don't do
I love
turkey.
steak.
I don't do turkey bacon.
Not bacon.
It's
I
not
think we've
bacon.
already decided that, right?
Decided it's not bacon.
It's not bacon.
Not bacon. Like you got to give me another word. Thinly sliced turkey slices.
Something is not bacon.
Not bacon.
No, it's just not.
So, but yeah, I have to jump on a business call.
Yeah, and I've got to get back to work.
Yeah, I gotta get
too.
going. Well, this was
So-
awesome. I'm glad we got it all to work.
Listen, I didn't even know that you guys were trying to get me on the Zoom. I'm like, what are you doing? And then when Charlotte sent me a message, that's when I was like, oh, okay.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Yeah. So I appreciate
Well, we're not a holy trinity. We're a two-thirdly trinity.
Right, we can't be a holy trinity without you.
well, I'm there always in spirit, even if I'm not,
Yes.
but I appreciate it and thank God. This was cool. I think now we know in the event that if one can't be somewhere that
And
we
know
can,
we can do this.
Yeah, but there is the magic of us all being
There is the
together
magic.
in the room.
the food, the magic, the
Yeah,
food.
well, it was good for you today because you're fasting,
Right.
but honestly, there is something about the synergy and the thing who knows what it is that
Yes.
comes from all being together and all around a table.
Yep.
So we hope that we don't have to do this much,
Right.
but
It's good to know we
did
can.
it, and I'm saying
Yeah.
we, and it's really her.
I couldn't have done it without you. So
Well,
that's a resource, a light. We all need each other.
we make it
We
happen.
we do.
Anyway,
Mwah. Have a wonderful day.
we'll see you
Have a
guys
good,
next
thank
Wednesday.
you.
Bye.